Kadosh Boker Tov, Masechet Yevamot Daf Bet Amud Aleph 52a1. We're just starting on Aleph Amud Bet, the last line, the last three words where it says Keitzad Asama Amar. What is the case in the Mishnah? So he said Asama Amar, if a person did a ma'amar with a zivama and then he gave her a get, so he needs to do chalitza. Okay, so now we start the Gemara today. Bet Amud Aleph on the top. Hi get achar getu. Says 1 second, right? Pay attention. What was the case exactly? He did a ma'amar and then he gave a get. So she needs chalitza. So says the Gemara, 1 second. But that's get achar getu. Why? The Mishnah was talking about a machloket between Gamliel and, right? That's what we said over there, but to do with get achar get. And then the Mishnah comes and says, Keitzad asama get. So then the Mishnah is actually explaining the case of get achar get and ma'amar achar ma'amar, but not get achar ma'amar. So what's going on exactly? So Amar Rav Yehuda says of Yehuda, Hachi Kamar. This is what it means to say. Get achar get u'ma'amar achar ma'amar. When we're talking about get achar get and ma'amar achar ma'amar, kede amra. That's exactly like what we said beforehand. Yavam echad, yevama achat. What are we talking about? We're talking about over here one yavam, and he did two pi'ulot with the same yevama. So one yavam and one yevama, one and one. There's one brother that stayed alive and one yevama. So the guy with the brother was only the one that died, who was only married to one woman. So keitzara taratan. How do they get rid of it? Asama amar bivimtov netan laget tzricha imenu chalitza. So that's what the case is. If right now he did ma'amar, so now she needs two things: get plus chalitza. Nachon, which makes sense. Very good. Next, asama amar ubaal. What happens if he did a ma'amar and then he had relations with her? So says the Gemara, right? Arezu kemitzvata. So that's kemitzvata, correct? Right? So he says, lema mesayele, right? Lema mesayele Ravuna. Why don't we say that this actually helps according to Ravuna? Ta'amar Ravuna says, mitzvat yevama mekadesh v'achar kach boel. There's not the chito, because here he put in a step in the middle that you didn't need, which was ma'amar, right? But it's also good. Also good, yes. But achitov, right? That's why it says af mitzvata. So here he says, so maybe this is a proof to the shita of Ravuna. What does Ravuna say? Ravuna says that also by a yevama, what do you have to do? You have to do ma'amar, meaning kiddushin, and then bia. That's the shita of Ravuna. No, so that's what he's saying. He's saying it's incorrect. Saying it's incorrect. That's only shita of Ravuna. That's what he's saying here. Lema mesayel Ravuna. What would you say? There's a proof to Ravuna that Ravuna says mitzvah tivama is mekadesh v'achar kach boel. So says the Gemara, no, you're right. Eima af ze kemitzvata. You have to say that's not the mitzvata, but mitzvata be'emet is not really 100% there, but it's also like a mitzvah. It's also something there. So says the Gemara, shita. Obviously, I'm saying obviously you could do the mitzvah in this way. So says the Gemara, sal kadait Rabina. I would have thought to say, right? Kevin da more says, how se ma'amar b'yivimto. If somebody does a ma'amar b'yivimto, parcha mimenu zikat yivamim b'chal alev zikat irusim v'nesuim. If you do ma'amar, there's no more yibum anymore. It's like now you have. It's like now you switched from yibum status quo. You switched to another track. What was the other track? Kiddushin v'nesuim. So therefore, if you do that, I would have said eima la mitzvah kavi. So then there's no mitzvah anymore. Because if you're doing kiddushin v'nesuim, are you allowed to get married to your sister-in-law? Eshetach. No. But one more time. If you're doing yibum, yibum is yibum. Yibum is the track of yibum. If you're on the track of yibum, you're doing everything properly. Why was the Torah permitted yibum on eshetach? Gzerat hakatuv. Write something new. But if not, it's eshetach, arayot. If you're going to switch track, and you're going to say, I'm not doing any more yibum, I'm doing kiddushin v'nesuim. So therefore he says, no, not also. You switch track. One more time.
It's part of the yibum.
No, one more time. More says in Kaftet Amubet, we learned this already. Haoseh ma'amar b'yivimto. Somebody that does a ma'amar to his yivama, parcha hemenu zikat yivamim. If there's no more yibum anymore, the zikah, this zikah, the kesher between them of yibum, halach.
Right.
So now what happened? Chala alav zikat irusim v'nesuim. He switched track records. Now what happened is he's doing irusim v'nesuim. So now I would say lav mitzvah kavid, and therefore you're not allowed to do it, right? It's asur, it's shetach. Kamashmalan comes to teach that still you could do the mitzvah in this way. Okay? Yeah, but we're not, again, this is the Gemara's question, the Gemara's answer. In a sense, so that's what we're saying. I would have thought, say, you switch track records, so now Gamarnu. That's it, there's no Yibum anymore. Kamashmalan, that it's still going to be okay. So Gufa, Maravuna, says Ravuna, Mitzvat Yivamin, Mekadesh ve'achar kach boel. The mitzvah Yibum, you could do Kiddush, right? That means you could do Kiddushin, which is basically the Ma'amar. That was Shita of Ravuna. But if you did do the opposite way around, which means even according to Ravuna, if you first did Biyah and then you did Ma'amar, Kana. So says the Gemara, Im Ba'al Asa Ma'amar, right? Asa Ma'amar, Shita obviously, why do you even need to do the Ma'amar? If you did Biyah first, with the Biyah you're already Koneh. So why do you need to do the Ma'amar Bichlal afterwards? So says the Gemara, you're right. You have to change it. You have to say Ba'al Belo Ma'amar. That means even according to Ravuna, that he says that even in a normal case of Yibum, you should always do Ma'amar and then Biyah. He agrees that if you did Biyah without the Ma'amar, you're Koneh. But he agrees. What? No, not according to him. Because according to Ravuna, he says Mitzvat. Again, let me repeat. Mitzvat Yevamin Mekadesh ve'achar kach boel. Shita Ravuna is always that you always do first Kiddushin and then Biyah. Right? But if you did the Biyah without the Kiddushin, you're going to be Yotzei Chuma. You're going to be okay. Which one? Says the Gemara, right? V'atanya loke. What are you talking about? I thought that we learned that if you're going to do the Yibum without Ma'amar, you're loke according to Ravuna. Why? That's like if a person comes and he gets married with Biyah. If a person gets married with Biyah, what happens then? Is he married? Midoraita, for sure he's married. But what does he get? He gets lashes, for sure. Why? So therefore, why? We give him lashes, right? So he comes and he says, no, you're right. It's not my quote Midoraita, obviously. It's only the Rabbanan, because according to him, since you had to do the Ma'amar first and you didn't do it, so you get Makamadu Midorabanan. Why? Terav Mangid Mand Mekadesh Bebiyah. Are you listening? Gemara Mefureshet, Unbet. Yeah? He comes and he says, listen carefully, Rav Ukibel, right? Hu היה נותן מכות למי שמקדש בביאה. Somebody that comes and has kiddushin bebiyah, he will give them lashes. Yeah, this is Rav. Mamash kacha. So, all the times you have, boyfriend, girlfriend, all these things, and all of a sudden, lashes. Mamash makut. Right? Gam? Okay. So says the Gemara, Uman de mekadesh beshuka, or Misha mekadesh bashuk. Mamash, kiddushin memtza shuk. Also, Uman de mekadesh belo shiduche, or somebody that does kiddushin without shiduchim. Imagine, there was no shiduch. And they come and they just, they see each other, boom. Also, Malkut, Tzarech shiduchim tchila. Uman de mevatel gita. מי שמבטל גט, כן, גם כן. זאת אומרת, בן אדם he comes and he gives a get. No, he comes and he gives a get and he sends the get to give to the wife. Now what does he do? He plays a good trick on the wife. What does he do? After he already sends the get, the shaliach, he comes to Edim and he's mevatel the get. So now she comes, she gets the get, she's all happy, and all of a sudden, no, it was already mevutal. Because she wanted the get. So all of a sudden what happens? Now is mevutal. So also, malkut. Next, man de masar moda gita. The same thing as somebody is going to give a moda a get. What does that mean? He has to give the get to the wife, and then all of a sudden he's moser moda that he didn't want to give the get. So the same thing. Man de pakat shlicha drabanan. So somebody that's going to become pakir, he's going to be chatzuf to the meiz parim keneged hashliach bedin. Also lashes. Man de shaya shamta drabanan letzatir min. Somebody that keeps on a nidui of 30 days of the rabbis upon himself also gets lashes. Meaning at the beginning, no, that the rabbi is the betin come and give him lashes. Why? Because how could it be that he's going to be 30 days in nidui, right? And he didn't get out of the nidui. Obviously, he had to get out of the nidui. He didn't want to. It's just problem. Fine, you don't want to, no problem. Boom, lashes. and he doesn't come to the bedin, right, to come and to permit his nidui. Or on a chatan that he lives in his father-in-law's house. If you have a chatan living in the father-in-law's house, right, it says over here they would come and they would also give. We're going to see now exactly why. So says the Gemara, that's only if you live in your father-in-law's house. But if you're just going there as a bikur, there's no problem. There was a story with a chatan that he passed by the petach of Bet Chamiv, the Nagdir of Sheshat. And Sheshat went and he put him in Nidui. Just because he went and he passed by the father-in-law's house. So says the Gemara, no. He was suspected of going with his mother-in-law. So since he was suspected of going with the mother-in-law, that's why all he did was he had to pass by the house. They saw him just by the house, boom, they already gave him Nidui. Why? Because he was already suspected. Here it says over here, Matsuya davar she'achamot mechabevet et chatana. The mother-in-law, she's mechabevet her son-in-laws. So therefore, a person to suspect, right? You have to be careful. So Rashi there, Kiddushin, says that a person has to watch himself from his first chatan, his wife from the first chatan. Why? Because it could be that, at the end of the day, it's a new man coming into the house and she wants that he should be nice to the daughter, and all of a sudden it could be that there's going to be problems. He says, right? That's what he says. Yeah? So he comes and he says, so we're talking about a lot of makot, right? When you're supposed to give makot. So here Rav was very, very feisty. Yeah, even though he was in Bavel, I think obviously the Babylonians had Moroccan blood. Yeah, so he says here, Nardai Amre. He's from, okay, done. It's Nardai Amre, Nardai says, Bekulhu lo mangid Rav, Rav, he says, in all of them, he says according to Nardai, he wouldn't give lashes, Ela lemekadesh bebiyav lashiduche. Says, unless he was doing biyah and without shiduchim, which means if they didn't do a shiduch and they went straight to biyah, instead of doing kiddushin, boom, he would give them a kot. And some people say, even on Jisam Kadesh Isha B'Biyah, even if there was Shidduchim beforehand. Why? Because of Pritzut. Which means the concept of Pritzut, they didn't want that it should become a promiscuous scenario. That they're coming, that they're just going out. No, that's something Mesudar. Shidduchim, that it's done with, with Yirat Shamayim, that it's done that, they understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu's involved, and not just that it's a ta'ava. So therefore they came, and they wanted to do it with the Shidduchim. Fine. Next. How do you do Ma'amar Bechla? We've been talking so much about Ma'amar. How do you do Ma'amar? So says the Gemara, right? Right? So he says like this: if he gave her kesef v'shaveh kesef, that is Ma'amar. B'shtar kesef. How do you do with shtar? Remember that usually how do you do kiddushin? Kiddushin is either kesef, shtar, or biyah. Like you already told me, if you do biyah, you get lashes, right? So therefore, obviously, we're not talking about biyah. Right? We're talking about Ma'amar. What is Ma'amar? Is not a biyah. So what is Ma'amar then? It's be kesef v'shtar. So kesef, I understand, is kesef v'shaveh kesef. You can give money. Right? Or sorry, or bekesef zo, which was real money. They used to give real money. Or they became a minhag with a tabat, that's shaveh kesef. But now how do you do with shtar? B'shtar keitzad. So it says the Gemara, b'shtar keitzad, kedamra. It says b'flash. Katav al niyar o la'cheres, afa b'shel shaveh b'ruta. Harei mekudesh li, harei mekudesh. If a person comes and he writes down on cheres, even on pottery, on earthenware, or al niyar, he comes and he writes down harei mekudesh li, right? What happens? And he gives it to her, and she acquires it. That's shtar. That is shtar. 1 second. Amar Abaye comes and he says, Achi Kamar, this is what it means to say. Shtar ketubat Yevamim ketzad. No, you're right. You were talking about a regular shtar. A regular shtar kiddushin. What about shtar Yevamim? Because we're talking about now shtar ketubat Yevamim. How do you write it? So he says, Ketavla, he has to write, Ana ploni bar ploni, I, ploni, fulano, the son of fulano, kabeleti at ploni yevamti alai, that he's accepting upon himself this yevama on him. Okay, lazun farnasa karawi, to do, give her parnasa and mezonot. But everything is going back on the original Baal. Because remember, she goes back on the original ketubah of the first husband. But the second husband does write her a shtar. This shtar is written that he accepts her upon himself. He lets la rishon. Now, what happens if they don't have ketubah from the nifse Baal rishon? So then she gets from the second husband in order for the same reason. What's the reason for ketubah? You know what the reason for the ketubah was? Because if not, he could divorce her in 2 minutes and he doesn't care. He comes, throws her out of the house. Come on, no, she burnt the cholent one morning, right? One Shabbat. Come on, no, Kaddish, get rid of her. So what happened? Ketubah. Why? Ketubah zadar, right? Ketubah, right? Ketubah zadar. So you're gonna come, you're gonna have to give. So now, especially remember in the olden days, the ketubah was a big amount of money, right? It was a mamash, it was a year's worth of food. You understand? Well, years worth of salary. So therefore, people are going to think twice. You know what it is to give. Even though I will tell you, I remember somebody that he came and he told me that he had to give to his wife. I don't know if it was like $500,000. I don't remember how much he had to give her. And he said it was the best money that he gave in his entire life. Saying why? Because sometimes they look at it that that's the best investment that they have, right? That they have over there. Fine, right? Fine. So says the Gemara, okay. Ba mine Abaye min Rabba. So Abaye comes and he asks from Rabba. Natan la get v'amar hareha megureshet menu v'yat muteret lechol adam ma'u. Imagine right now a person comes and he gives a get, right? The Yavam gives to the Yevama a get, and he says hareha megureshet menu. You're divorced from me, right? V'yat muteret lechol adam, but you're not permitted to everybody. Ma, what's halacha? Does the Yevama become pesula because of this get or not? Get the Yevama is the Rabbanan. The get me'ani b'eshetish. So get for Yevama is only the Rabbanan. It's not the right. Remember, for Yevama, what do you do for Yevama? Chalitza. Doesn't help get. So why does a get help? Only with the Rabbanan. So therefore, get only helps b'eshetish. Me'ani b'Yevama, so it should help also b'Yevama. Or get the lo ma'ani b'eshetish, lo ma'ani b'Yevama. Or get that does not help b'eshetish, does not help by Yevama. Or dilmar maybe ati lichluf b'gita. You could make a mistake and get it compared with another get. Meaning that many times people are going to say, 1 second, this woman just got a get and nothing happened. So therefore, in a normal case where a woman gets a get, even not a Yevama, I'm going to think nothing happens. That's ati lachlufe, which means that I'm going to make a mistake because I'm going to say, you know what, you think people know the real halachot? No. She's a Yevama, it's a chalitza. If it's a married woman, it's a get. They don't know, right? They're clueless. So says the Gemara, he comes and he says like this. So one more time, the question is, do we come and we're going to say that we're going to switch because of the get or not? The Elmaleh comes and he says, we're going to make a mistake that maybe people are going to make mistakes to doing one get and another get. People are not going to be lamdanim. She needed chalitza. You give a get. That get is not good. Yes, good. People don't know. So since they don't know, they don't know. Fine. Matkifla Rabbi Bar Chanan says Rabbi Bar Chanan ela me'ata. What happens now if he gave the Yavam stam, right, a piece of paper, and he said, so now what, you're going to say it's pasul also? Because maybe you're going to say also, it's going to be mitchalef beget gamur, but it wasn't a get gamur. Remember, get gamur is, the 12 lines, this, that, So he comes and he says, Elmaleh, hatam lo pasil bekiuna. There, it would never make her pasul to kiuna. Yeah, there it would never make her pasul to kiuna. Here it's going to make a pasul to kuna. The Tanya, as we learned to the Braita, right? A woman that she's going to be divorced from her husband, you can't take. Even if she's only going to be divorced from her husband, you can't take her. It has to be a reach of a get that's possible to kuna. Meaning, if a person just comes and he writes on a piece of paper, that's nothing. That means it will never disqualify her even from kuna, but it's nothing. So there, no. It has to, even with the dim, it's a klum. It has to be a get. Areya megureshet is a no get. I'm saying it has to be a true get. Right? They learn a lot. It takes a long time to learn gitin. Okay? Fine. Amar Rabbi Mechama Hare Amru. They said, Amar Hechal Lavlar. Imagine somebody comes and he tells a sofer. Lavlar is a sofer. Imagine somebody comes and he tells a sofer, Gdov get la rusati u'sheyichnasena egarshena. Hare ze get. Do you know that a person comes and he says, you know what? Write a get for his arusa. Remember, arusa is the first step of nisuin, right? So he comes and he says, why? After he gets married to her, he's going to give her the get. So says the Gemara, it's a good get, right? Why? He says, because since he has the possession, that he's got the power to get married to her, to divorce her even right now. So therefore, it's going to be a good get right now. Now, even though usually a person is not allowed to use a get yashan, this is get yashan, but the avad, if he did use it, it's going to be okay. Now says the Gemara nun bet amubet 52b. Okay, yeah, 52 to b. Yeah, so he says Ulisha be'alma enget. But with a regular woman, it does not help. Why? Because it's not in his hands to divorce her. Meaning, if imagine a person comes and he tells a lavlar, listen, write this get for this woman. I'm going to get married to her, and then I'm going to divorce her. Well, right now, can you divorce her? No, but she's not married to you, so therefore it doesn't help that get. That get does not help. Okay? Makes sense, no? No. Rabbi Barchama comes and he asks the question, what happens if he did that with his Yevamah? Which means he wrote the get before he did the Yibum. Ma, what's halacha? Given that Gida Bekarusa Todami, is it that since she's already connected to him, so it's like his Arusa, and therefore he could use the same get, and the get is kasher? Or Dilmar, maybe given the Lavad Mamar, since he didn't do Mamar, the get is nothing. So take we don't have an answer. It's a good question. One more time. He has a Yevamah. He writes a get before going with the Yevamah. Then he goes with the Yevamah, and now he wants to use this get to divorce her. Right? But remember, after doing Yibum, according to everybody, no, he did Yibum already. Get, he's already Ishto Lechol Davar. Right? So therefore it's a get. So now can he use the same get? Now do you say that since Agida Gabe, meaning that she's attached to him, so therefore what happened? Right? So therefore it's considered his wife, and therefore he could use this get? Or do we say no? Right? So Ronem Yechal already answered the question. We have to wait. We have to wait for Teku. We have to wait for Eliyahu Navi to answer it. But he already answered. Right? So no, that's what you just said now. We have a doubt. We don't know. Says the Gemara, Teku. או חסדיה. אין, תיקון זאת אומרת, אנחנו לא יכולים להכריע, ואתה יכול להכריע. אז תשבי את הלב קושו ובאות. אנחנו צריכים לחכות לאליהו הנביא, ואתה כבר מכריע. איזה גמרא. באי רב חנניה. Says Rav Chananya, he comes and he has another doubt. Yeah, remember this doubt. It says, כתב גט לזיקתו ולא למאמרו, למאמרו ולא לזיקתו מהו. What happens if he wrote a get to his zikato ולא למאמרו? Which means, remember, there are two women, right? One of them is the zikah, one of them is ma'amaro. So each one of them is zakuklo, right? Zikato. And then you have the one that he gave him ma'amar. Or to ma'amaro velo li zikato. Wow, what's halacha? Ma'amar ilave zika karan. And do you say the ma'amar is on the zikah? It's like an extra thing on the zikah. So it's like he's divorcing half a wife. He didn't do anything. Or Dilmar, maybe each one is on its own, which means there's the kesha zikah is by itself, and the ma'amad is by itself. And therefore, even if he's going to give a get to one of them, the get should help. So says the Gemara, the Tif Shulamid Rava, why don't you just bring the proof from Rava? The Amar Rava, because Rava says, Natan get le ma'amaro, utratzarata. Imagine right now you had a person. He had to do yibum. He didn't do yibum. He did ma'amad. But he didn't even finish the ma'amad. He went and gave her a get to the Balat ma'amad. So says the Gemara, utratzarata. So that means, what does that mean? That means that the get that he gave to the ma'amad, the one that he gave, was actually a good get, and everything was perfect. So therefore, the other woman became completely exempt. So says the Gemara, no, le Rava was pshita, for Rava it helps for sure, but Rav Chananya had a doubt in this. What's halacha? Again, take it. We don't have an answer. Because the doubt is, do we say that since at the end of the day, this person had to do chalitza? He didn't do chalitza. He did a din de rabbanan, he did ma'amad. Then he did another din de rabbanan, get for the ma'amad. Because remember, a ma'amad is annulled by a get. Chalitza annuls yibum. So now what happens is that do we say that since he now gave her the get, do we say now that the other one, she's completely exempted because the get was given to the other one, right? And or do we say no, that at the end of the day there was no chalitza done, that's it, there's nothing there. That is the Gemara. Chalatz ve'asa ma'amar. If a person did chalitza and then he did ma'amar after the chalitza. So Amar Rabbi Yudam Rav says, Zot divrei Rabbi Kiva. These are the words of Rabbi Kiva. Damar en kiddushin tosim b'chai ve'elavin. There's no kiddushin tofes b'chai ve'elavin. L'mar chachamim omrim yeshachar chalitza klum. There is a chalitza klum. You remember that there was a big machloket. Is kiddushin tosim b'chai ve'elavin or not? We hold not like Rabbi Akiva, right? That it is tofes b'chai ve'elavin. It's not tofes b'chai ve'kritut, but it is tofes b'chai ve'elavin. But according to Rabbi Kiva, en kiddushin tosim even b'chai ve'elavin. So says the Gemara, can you actually say it goes according to Rabbi Kiva? We learned to the Reisha. Natan get v'asa ma'amad. Imagine a person gave a get and then he did a ma'amad. Tzicha get v'chalitza. You need to get chalitza. V'yid Rabbi Akiva. If you're going to tell me some Rabbi Akiva, given the avla get, once you give him a get, does it actually help? Right? Does it actually help the ma'amad? Once you give the get, kaddish. So what does help now the ma'amad? So he comes and he says, yeah, v'atanya. We learned to the right. Rabbi Akiva, when Rabbi Akiva says, how do you know if you're going to give a get to Yevamah that it's going to be asur olamit forever. Shneimar. Right, but it says in the pasuk, "Lo yuchal bala rishon asher shilecha achar shiluach." What does that mean? Lo yuchal bala rishon asher shilecha lashuv lekachta lo yolo lisha achar shiluach. It's only going to be asur lachzira. So since according to Rabbi Akiva, he's going to be doresh that a yevama which was mekabla get from the yevam is asur belav. So if so, the kiddushim are not tosim. So if so, why did the Mishnah say that the get which was done afterwards, right? That the ma'amar, that was done after the get helps. Why does it help? It shouldn't help. So Ravashi says, get yevamin is drabanan, ukra smachta be'alma. He says, no. The pasuk that Rabbi Akiva was doresh was only a smach and a remez from the pasuk. It was a gzeh, but it's not really a real thing from the pasuk. It's gzerat chachamim. So Tanya Miyachi, we also learned this in the Braita. Amar Rabbi says, en advarim alalu amurim, right? That when we say that she doesn't need chalitza, ela according to Rabbi Akiva, because he says, he said that a chalutza is like an erva. Chachamim say, yesh acher chalitza klum. There is after chalitza klum. What does that mean? Chachamim come and they say that kiddushim is tofsim b'chayv elavim, and therefore if the yavam is going to come and he's going to do ma'amar after the chalitza, it's going to be chal, and then she needs a new get. But according to Rabbi Akiva, there was nothing. Okay, and chalitza klum, but that's it. Once you do chalitza, gaman. V'ani omer, but I'm going to say, emmatai, right? Which one? Rabbi. Yeah. V'ani omer, but I'm going to say, emmatai bizman shekichal l'shum yishut. Only if he wanted to get married to her. But if he wanted to do yevamut with her, then no. Because the second that a person came and he did, right? The second that a person came and he did chalitza, there's no yibum. Meaning, if he came and he wanted to get married to her, mitzad marriage, then yes. But if he wanted to do yibum, he already did chalitza. Once you do chalitza, there's no such thing as yibum. Tanya idach, we also learned in another braita. A person did chalitza to his yevama, and then afterwards he went and he did ma'amar, he did kiddushin. Rabbi says, if you did it for a shoot, you have to need a get. If it's for yevamut, she doesn't need a get. You always need a get. So Amar Rabbi says, my time Rabbi was using Rabbi, he made it in a case like the Chachamim, where a person was oder b'nichsei get. A person comes and he starts doing an action in the nichsei get, right? And he thought that it's going to be his now, right? And they're not hefket. So therefore, he had no kavanah to acquire them. The lokani, he's not going to acquire. What does that mean? If a ger dies, right? What happens to his properties? Anybody that comes and takes it, they get it. You understand? So again, the person came, he was oder. Remember, how do you acquire the possessions of a ger? You come and you have to do something in the property. Here you were all dead in the property. So you came, you started taking out the stones and doing all these things in the property, but you didn't have kavanah to acquire it. Why? Because you thought it was already going to be yours. What happens is you're not acquiring. So Elmaleh comes and he says, Midami is compared to that case. There you didn't want to have kavanah to be koneh bichlal. Hacha there, you didn't want to acquire this woman. So he says, no, really, you were because who should get a cheru? What happens if you were being dead in this property of a get, and it was another guess? It wasn't this get, it was another guess. So therefore he says, Dekani, you are going to be koneh, but manashach, you're koneh. If it's not from this get, it's the other get. So Rabbi says, what are we dealing with? He said to her, right? He told her, get married to me with ma'amar yevamin. So Rabbi says, ma'amar ilaveh karami. Ma'amar that the chachamim tiknu is on top of the zikah. And therefore, since it's extra, the chalitza took away already the zikah. And therefore, if the chalitza already took away the zikah, the ma'amar has nothing to be halan. There's nothing else anymore for the ma'amar. Rabbanan Sabri, but the rabbis hold, each one is separate. And therefore, mi'ikara, from the beginning, before the chalitza, if he would have told her, for sure it would have helped. So too, it's going to be help, even though the zikah was already gotten rid of because of the hafkat zikah, because of the chalitza. Rav comes and he says, if he told him, everybody holds that it's going to be chal. What are we dealing with? He said, with the zikah, meaning, if he said ma'amar does help, but not a zikah because he already got rid of the zikah through the chalitza. So Rabbi comes and he holds Nun Gimel Amud Aleph 53a1. Yes, zikah. There is a zikah. Vatay chalitza kadal zikah. The chalitza comes and takes away the zikah. The Rabbanan Sabre and Rabbanan hold and zikah. There's no zikah. Ilo amala miikar. If he would have told her from the beginning Rabbi Kara, sorry, if you would have told her it's Kachil B'Zikat Yevamim, for sure would have helped. So to here it's going to help, and then we're going to continue this afternoon with Rav Shiravya.